Welcome to the Ordopia and Coach Track podcast with me, Greg Stein, and co-host Daniel Williams. Each week we have a guest coach on the podcast to tell us about their course and we tackle one of their marketing problems. Okay guys, we are back with the Ordopia and Coach Track podcast. This week joining me and Dan Williams is the amazing Karina McMillan. Karina, before we start, I would love to know a little bit more about you, a little bit more about how you got into coaching, and let's let that Scottish accent flow and tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I've been a hypnotherapist I've had my own business for about 6 years. I'm also a teacher, so I'm a nurture teacher. I have just finished my master's degree in autism. I run an autism football group as well. My story about how I got into hypnotherapy, there's kind of two sides to how hypnotherapy has worked for me. So I used to hate telling people this story because I thought that I was weird, but I had a sensory issue that was really starting to overtake my life. So I didn't like things swinging, like moving. So I couldn't take my son to the park because the swings just agitated me and made me feel uncomfortable. So I obviously didn't like telling people this story because I thought it was a bit strange. But it got to the point where I couldn't even watch things on TV. So I decided to try cognitive behavioural therapy, and basically it done nothing for me, nothing at all. They basically said, well, you just need to live with it. So I was doing my research when I was at uni, and I spoke to my tutor about it because he was doing a lot of research on the brain and trauma and things like that. So he said, I've never heard of it, but I can help you. So I said, well, what can you do to help me? And he says, I'll hypnotise you. So sat down on his seat in his office. There was people coming in and out throughout the whole thing. He was answering the phone. So I was in and out of hypnosis throughout it. And I have never had an issue since that day. And it amazed me, absolutely amazed me, because it changed my life. Like, people think if you've got a fear or a dislike of something swinging, it's silly. But I swear it was starting to take over my life, stop me from doing things. So basically, I wouldn't have magic trees swinging from my car mirror. Do you have the air fresheners? That was a big no-no. So I would not have that at all. As soon as I got into a car, I'd have to remove it from the mirror. But now it doesn't bother me. I've got air fresheners swinging from my mirror. It's just, I cannot believe the difference in it. So because it worked so well for me, what happened was I started studying autism. So I started my master's degree in autism. And obviously, autistic people have a lot of sensory issues. So this made sense to me. So I've thought, I want to, for my big research project, is research how autistic people experience hypnotherapy. And that's what I've just done. So basically, when I was planning my research, I'm thinking, if I was to get a hypnotherapist to do this, they're quite expensive, some hypnotherapists. So I said, well, I'll train and become a hypnotherapist and do it all myself. And that is how I got into hypnotherapy.
Wow, what an amazing story. What an amazing story. Really powerful stuff. And Karina, thank you so much for sharing. Really interesting about the air fresheners in the car as well. Brilliant stuff. Dan, I know you're dying to ask a question. Far away.
Yeah, so that's a really good story. That's something you can really lean into with your content.
Yeah.
It's definitely good to be as personal as possible, even if it's uncomfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think me and Greg have definitely been there ourselves as well with our stories. So my question for you, you've obviously got a course.
Yeah.
What are you struggling with the marketing side of that?
So I feel like no matter how much I post, I feel like I'm not seen. I feel like it doesn't get anywhere. I'm not getting any reach. I feel like I'm only kind of posting it on Instagram because that's what I know, but I'm not familiar with other kind of social media platforms. But my biggest issue is I feel I'm not being seen.
Yeah. Okay, so your main platform is obviously Instagram. You're getting really good, helpful content there, but you're not getting the views you deserve, which is obviously why you're feeling unseen.
Yeah.
So the first thing that jumps out of me looking at your Instagram is your hooks, which is the first 5 seconds of your video. And Greg's really passionate about making a first impression in the first 40 milliseconds, right? So that's even more important on Instagram than it is in real life.
Right.
Obviously, people there are dopamine addicted, looking for that next hit. So you got to give it to them. So I'm going to give you an example. So you started with a video on X with, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got a course out.
Yeah.
So that's what most coaches will do initially. But you've got to think, would you stop scrolling for a stranger trying to sell you something like that? Probably not. It's kind of, it's vague, it's bland, and it releases a very small amount of dopamine. So I would kind of correct that with, I have 15 years experience in this. If you're suffering from X problem, autism, or any sensory issues, I have Y solution, which is obviously your course. This goes for writing as well. Hooks are obviously very important. You've got to tell them what you're going to say in the content, promise the value, and obviously tell them why you're qualified to talk about it with all your experience and your degree. That's absolutely brilliant. That's really helpful.
Because I do feel like I don't say that enough. I don't maybe tell people enough about my background. And
yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of coaches out there now that actually don't have the qualifications that I've got, and I think maybe that's what makes me a bit different, is because I've got a psychology degree and I've got a teaching degree and a master's degree. So, and I probably don't talk about it as much as I should.
Yeah, I actually didn't know about your story until you told us just now. So even after looking at all your socials and on your website and all that, didn't know it. So you should definitely get yourself out there more. It's not embarrassing at all. It's really inspiring, really, especially for the people that you're trying to attract, which is
I think part of it is blowing your own trumpet. Like I don't want to come across as blowing my own trumpet on social media.
Greg was definitely anxious about that at the start as well. I think you've kind of got to, it's not really blowing your own trumpet, it's just telling people what you can do for them, how you can help them. Because at the end of the day, you are being helpful for them. You're not trying to sell them some scammy course. This is actually going to help them in real life, and it's going to make you kind of feel fulfilled with that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a bio on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's with the hooks. So 90% of the people you want to see the full video will keep listening when you've told them that it's about this niche thing, which is like autism or whatever the video is about. Some people will click off because it obviously it's not, if it's not for them, it's not useful. But you don't want them anyway. It's not about numbers. It's more about the amount of people you can get who will end up buying or who will end up getting impacted by what you're going to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was hooks. That was my first point. Second point, I saw you writing your Instagram captions with ChatGPT. Is that right?
I've done a few with them. Not all of them, because I'd say in the last maybe 3 weeks I have done, but the ones before that weren't.
Okay, so I saw a lot with ChatGPT. You can obviously see it straight away.
Right.
It's obviously efficient. It's efficient, but you're not really getting much out of it. I did this until about a year ago as well, thinking I'm like really intelligent because I'm using AI. Obviously, that's the big thing at the moment. But you've got to think about the value you're actually adding to your audience with that. They could just search stuff on ChatGPT as well, rather than listen to your captions. So it's not valuable. It's the value from your personal brand comes from your unique perspectives, your insights, your experiences, and not just the information. So how to write them? You obviously have a lot of years experience, a lot more than me in what I do. So I think just write what comes to your head.
Yeah.
An old client, maybe adding on some value on what you said on the video. I see a lot of coaches trying to sell in the captions with a CTA saying the link in my bio, buy the course, all this. My advice is don't add your value, like we said, and then ask them to follow for more, something like that. You don't want to be known as the salesy hypnotherapist woman. You want to be known as the woman who really talked to me, understood what I'm going through, and could obviously help me. And that's where they're going to book the call, and you're going to get seen. So that's my second point. If you've got any questions on that, I don't want to just be talking like a monologue.
No, it totally makes sense to me. I think the thing with ChatGPT is it's quick, and that's probably another issue that I've had is my time for planning and putting content up, because I've had so much going on and spinning quite a lot of plate. I feel that that's an easy, quick solution, whereas it's not converting.
Absolutely. Karina, I just want to say, Dan and Karina, thank you so much for sharing there. Karina, I've had the pleasure of having a deep dive into your course, and I thought it was brilliant. And you've got these amazing qualifications, okay? And we're desperate to give it more of an outreach, you know? Affirmations can reduce stress by up to 47%. People who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. So it's a great time for such a powerful course with such a great coach to put across a fantastic message, you know? So tell us a little bit more about your course. Tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind it, and what are the take homes that your audience or who purchase it can get.
So the inspiration behind it is, I mean, this is another bit of a long story, I suppose, but when I started doing hypnotherapy, I was doing a lot of self-hypnosis, and a few years back, like, I would say I was at rock bottom, like, and I'm not just saying I had low self-esteem, I'm saying, like, I did not like myself. Like, I used to cry myself to sleep at night, and I would be begging for somebody to help me. That's how bad I felt about myself. And I made the decision one day, I don't want to be like this anymore. I'm going to take action. So through doing the self hypnosis and what I've been doing with my clients, and journaling, affirmations, everything that I've put in this course is what helped me go from absolutely hating myself to loving every day. Like, I bounce out of bed in the morning. People kind of complain about the weather in Scotland and how bad it is, whereas it doesn't really matter. If it's sunshine, rain and thunder, whatever, it doesn't affect my mood because I've done that much work on myself. And then obviously with manifesting, it's manifesting basically the better you feel and the happier you are, the more good things you attract into your life. And I could see that happening for myself. Whereas before it was always doom and gloom and negative, and I wasn't getting anywhere until I changed my mindset. So I started to do manifesting as part of my mental diet. I journal every single day, I still do. I would write all my wins. I would do my affirmations, and I would do my gratitude every single day. So I write at least 10 things I'm grateful for every day without fail. And it completely changes your mindset. And because this worked so well for me, again, it's something that I wanted to share, and it's something I'm very passionate about. It is quite separate from the autism stuff, the autism and manifesting and hypnotherapy. That is my passion. So I just feel it helped me so much. But when I was looking at the best ways to manifest, because everybody is obsessed with tips and manifesting money and specific people and things like that, but it's confusing. There's so many different opinions on it, whereas I wanted to simplify it and make it easy for people to understand. So the basics, the fundamentals of manifesting are in magnetic power, which are self-love and gratitude, and then identifying your limiting beliefs, and then changing your limiting beliefs into your positive affirmations. And you're right, you do have to say, I mean, some people say 100 affirmations a day to be able to rewire your brain. And that can seem impossible, but on the magnetic power course, there is a lot that there's affirmations recorded. So I have relaxing affirmation, and I also have upbeat affirmations. So I listen to mine when I'm driving in the car.
Yep.
I would say when I'm at the gym, but I don't go to the gym. So walking the dog, I would listen to them doing the housework, all that kind of thing. I'm constantly listening to the affirmations, and it makes things simpler. So everything on magnetic power is simplified for you to get the fundamentals of manifesting and make it easier for you.
Karina, what a great answering. And cognitive reframing is what I got, when I was looking into your course, and it's such a powerful stuff, that ability to change your mind's thoughts to look more positive. Now, Dan, for me, let's play a game because you're here with the master now. I think with cognitive reframing, this neuroplasticity, if you like, of having more empowered thoughts, looking at the world differently. Like you talked about Scottish weather, for example, and having a positive outlook on it. Dan, X is a great space for that. It's such an amazing space to share such powerful opinions. And how about we play a game? How about you possibly give us a bit of inspiration, of cognitive reframing or neuroplasticity? Maybe the Scottish weather would be a great one, or your accent. Dan would tell you how you would pitch it as an X message. How does that sound, Dan?
All right, I'm up for that. I thought you were going to ask me to go for the affirmations and stuff. I was like, I can't do this.
Dan, that can always wait. Okay, so look, Karina. So why don't you drip feed us some powerful information, some inspiration? Maybe based on cognitive reframing, neuroplasticity, and X is such a powerful platform, isn't it, Dan? In my opinion, the most powerful. Dan openly put a message out the other day that has 5 million new users a day. You've only got to resonate with 0.5% of them to have a business, So this is how important this could be. Is taking that great information that is in your course, wording it correctly and getting it out to a wider audience, So we're here to help you. You've got a great course. You're an amazing coach. I think this is a good place to start. So let's give us some gems, and then let's see how Dan would reframe that.
Okay, so for every negative, our brain is automatically, it's wired to think negatively. It's survival. That is how it's wired. So for every one negative thought you have, you need 10 positives to cancel out one negative.
Wow,
which is
that's interesting.
Cognitive dissonance related to that, like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, sort of thing. Dan, how would you reframe that? How would you get that out to an audience which is related to Karina's target market?
I know, yeah. All right, so we talked before about the hooks. I think that's the most important thing here, especially when you're starting. You want to be on the feed, you want to be standing out, and kind of, especially to the people that you want to stand out to, make an impact with. So I'd reframe that with a hook, something like just one line. What if the biggest limiting factor in your life was your own brain? Something like that. And then you could put underneath, for every one negative thought, you need to have 5 positive ones to cancel it out. And then you could go on about that. Especially with LinkedIn, helps with the longer ones. But with X, you could definitely go on, talk about how maybe a client study, maybe you yourself, how you struggled with that and how you overcame it. And that's the angle I go. Definitely more personal, and definitely standing out with the hooks, being a little bit controversial, maybe adding curiosity. And yeah, that's what I do with that.
Okay, that's a great answer. Okay, let's play this game again. Okay, so meditation can fix anxiety by 60%. Stuff like self-schema, Karina, you're an expert, all right? There would be a target market for you on LinkedIn based to this course. So how about this? How about you give us another gem, and then Dan would tell you what sort of people like your course would maybe would take value from your course. So that was great. I really enjoyed that. So let's go along the same sort of lines and imagine this is you trying to pitch your course to your target audience, possibly on LinkedIn. What sort of thing would you say? And then Dan could maybe tweak that a little bit to look at what sort of audience would lock in.
So to do with meditation or anything?
I think with this basis behind your course, this cognitive reframing, or the way I love stats. Okay, so for me as a coach, I'm looking at stats. So I think that if affirmations can reduce stress by 47%, if people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. If hypnotherapy has a 93% recovery rate after 6 sessions, meditation can reduce anxiety by 6%. That's how my mind works. And that is the basis behind all of my CTAs, all of my hooks, all of my captions, right? And you can see how I lock into a certain type of person. All right. This is gold. Your course is so powerful and it will definitely reach out to a certain type of person. So give us another gem or something like a real take home. Maybe let's say that a certain type of person was going to listen and take part in your course. What sort of thing they would do, how it would make them feel, what positives they would get from it. And then Dan can maybe push that and tell you what sort of people would be a target market on maybe LinkedIn.
Yeah. So with relation to meditation, you can meditate for like 3 minutes a day. You can meditate for half an hour. It's very flexible, so it's easy to fit into your mental diet. So when you are, have you ever heard of the triune brain theory with the 3 different brains? You've got the reptile brain, you've got the animal brain, and then you have the human brain. My brain model's over there. I could have showed you. So basically, when you're working with your subconscious mind, that it's basically animal and reptile brain, your human mind is your conscious, your adult brain. So it's the latest to develop, doesn't fully develop until you're 25. And that is all your executive functioning, your memory, your learning, everything. Your subconscious mind is your fight, flight, freeze, freeze, and fawn. And that is what's kicking in when you're anxious. But also you can use it in a positive way with doing meditation. You're coming down the different brain waves. So your brain waves that are more active when your conscious mind is active, and you're more alert and focused. But if you're coming down the brain waves, which is relaxing more, so like mindfulness, meditation, hypnotherapy, sleep. So hypnotherapy is the in-between stage of being awake and being asleep. So when you're in that nice, relaxed state of meditation, hypnotherapy, your subconscious mind is open and very suggestible to change. So that's why everything in this course is geared to making you love yourself and making you be grateful for everything that you've got. So even if you're not wanting to manifest anything, this course is amazing for making you love yourself again and making you feel grateful for what you have.
Wow.
And the best time to do it is you're automatically in that trance within the first 5 minutes of waking up in the morning. So as soon as you open your eyes, that's when you tell yourself whatever you need to hear for that day. That's the most powerful time.
That is gold. That is gold.
Good.
So this is where you have someone like Dan who says you have that message. This is what your course can do. Dan, who would you aim that at? What sort of hook would you use? Work your magic.
Yeah, so the first thing you said was it's going to take 3 minutes a day. It can take however long you want it to take.
Yep.
I would go business owners, obviously going to love that. They're going to be thinking, that's brilliant. They've obviously got the money. They've obviously, a lot of them are struggling with business as well as mental health. It's on the rise. People are talking about it a lot more nowadays. Some people obviously are going to be like, mental health is rubbish. You don't need mental health, just money, all of this. But obviously you have to piss off a couple of people to be loved by a couple, or loved by the people that you want to be loved by. So I think I would go for business owners with that one. It's quick. It's going to help you. You obviously talked a lot about how you're going to get into that plasticity state.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah. I did A-level psychology, but I'm not good at all this stuff.
I love that, Dan. Love that,
So yeah,
Dan.
I would go towards the business owners with the hook. You're obviously going to have to catch their attention quite quickly. They're obviously busy people. So you could say, what if I could save you 5 years of bad mental health in 3 minutes a day? Something like that with my course. That's obviously going to be for the right people, it's going to be very appealing. And for the wrong people, they're going to scroll past it right away, which is exactly what you want. So that's where I'd go with that one.
Dan, that's a great answer. I have a question for you, Dan, as well. Okay, so it is an amazing course, by the way, and Karina's such a powerful coach. No problem at all. It's a brilliant course. She's on Instagram. She's building up on LinkedIn, and we've talked to her about X, for example. Does this course appeal to the same type of person on each platform, or is it like a varied sort of approach? Because it is such a powerful course. Is the same person going to see it on X or LinkedIn, or can it go to like real specific audiences?
I think the differences between platforms are quite over exaggerated. I think LinkedIn is an outlier. You obviously got a lot of different types of people on there, but Instagram, TikTok, X, anything like that, they're all going to have similar people on it. They just might have different styles when it comes to consuming content. So this is another point I actually wrote. You would probably be better on a writing platform because obviously you don't have the visuals and hypnotherapy. You're not a photographer.
I agree with
so
that.
you so you're more likely to stand out with what you say rather than what people can see, the visuals.
Yeah.
That being said, videos can work on X or LinkedIn too, and you should keep posting on Instagram, especially with your good hooks and your human written captions now. So I think I'm obviously not the platform police. Me and Greg do both writing and video, like these podcasts, with our case studies, and that's something we'll talk about later as well. So I think that point is choosing the platform which best suits your niche, and who's there and how they want to consume what you're saying.
It's a good story. Thanks, Dan, for sharing. Another thing that I've realised and that I've taken home, if you like, from getting to know Karina, she's got some amazing stories. Okay, Karina, you've shared with us some fantastic ones. Ones that have led you down this path, if you like, and you can't lead others down a path if you haven't walked it yourself, and you've definitely got that in abundance. I listened to your course. I thought it was fantastic, and it's only on Ordopia, which is such a powerful thing as well. If you were going to speak out to the target audience, the ones that are going to listen today, the ones that are going to see this on all these posts, is there anything in particular you would like to shout out? Anything that you'd like to really resonate with them straight away?
I think just going back to it doesn't matter if you're trying to manifest what it is you're trying to manifest. It doesn't need to be about that. I'm very big on setting goals and achieving goals, but I think with this, it's kind of two birds with one stone. You're building up your self-esteem and your confidence at the same time as finding gratitude. And then when you feel good, more good comes in. It's a law of attraction. More good comes to you. So I think that's kind of one of the big things for me.
Fantastic. Dan, how would you put that in a tweet?
I honestly think how you say it is the best way to say it. Obviously, with the hooks, it's different. You've got to be a lot more concise and more controversial, kind of adding the curiosity. But if you want to write the tweet how you want to write the tweet, you're going to attract the people that you want to attract doing that. Obviously, if your clients don't like the way you speak or they don't like how you talk about things, they're not going to be very good clients anyway. So you don't really want to attract them, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Another point I had was sharing your stories. Obviously, your story yourself and from clients instead of being kind of generic. That's what I saw with your Instagram. You were giving good tips, but you weren't kind of applying them to people, and you weren't kind of talking about. Obviously, you've got a lot of stories. You've got to share them. They're very valuable. Like a lot of people could talk about hypnotherapy, but not many people could talk about it in the kind of inspiring way that you were at the start of this. So I think you've got to make people kind of connect with you. They've got to think like this is the woman for me. She's going to solve my problems, and that's going to help massively because obviously information that's applied to a real human just feels more engaging. So that's what I'm doing here. I share a lot of information all the time, but I'm also helping you, a real coach, and that's going to resonate with my audience more. So
Absolutely. That's a great answer, Dan. Karina, there was one thing that I really got from looking at all of your stuff, and it's only because I want to find out more about you. These amazing qualifications you've got, this fantastic story, this amazing course you've got. I would love to see it in a newsletter. I think that would be really, really powerful, Dan. A day 1 to 30 or even a 1 to 7 newsletter, like a mini breakdown of your course. Dan, would you agree with that?
yeah, I'm definitely a big advocate of newsletters. I think you can you can turn a newsletter into like 15 tweets, 60 LinkedIn posts, a couple of Instagram reels, a YouTube video. It just makes it easier. And obviously you said you're time constrained as well, so that's going to help with that. Obviously you've got a lot of stories to share as well, so an email is you've got plenty to talk about. You shouldn't be scared of writing a lot. So yeah, email is definitely a good thing.
I think that was another kind of issue, was having the time to nurture the people that are already in my community and with me, rather than putting a post out to try and get a new follower to convert them into a sale. I think I didn't have the time to write emails to focus on the clients I already have.
It's a very good question. It's always better to nurture people that you've already got into a different program. You'll openly see with me, I don't advertise any of my prices at all. I try to nurture the people that I'm working with already. But I feel you've got such a great story, such great qualifications. I think a real powerful, just a 5-part newsletter series would be really powerful for the course, and that's something, Dan, that we can help her with, isn't it? We've given you a breakdown of the answer to your question. Dan's given you his Yoda, that we call it. It's given you his amazing insight, but I think that's something that maybe I can help you with, because we're going to meet after the show, aren't we?
Yeah.
I can maybe help you. I can help you with that. But just before we go, I just want to say, Karina, a huge thank you for joining us today, and for everyone that's listening. It's such a powerful course. As Karina was talking, and you'll see about her course and what she spoke about, it's aimed at such a broad market. If you're struggling with stress, if you want help, in your job, this is the course for you. Trust me, and it's only at Wordopia. Karina, anything you want to say before we finish for the day?
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Always a pleasure. And Dan, any last minute wisdom from Yoda himself?
Yeah, so we've obviously gone over quite a lot there. We've gone over the hooks, we've gone over the writing the captions, choosing your platform wisely, and kind of humanizing what you do as well. So I think I don't want to just be generic, talk vaguely. I think a roadmap for you would be talk more about what you've done, your story, even if it's kind of uncomfortable, because normally things that make you grow often are. I'm sure you know that more than a lot of people.
Definitely.
So yeah, and get those hooks nailed, make them stand out to the people you want to stand out to, and that's the main message that you and anyone listening to this can take home.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the Wordopia and Coach Track podcast. Next week, we have Steve Barrett. And until then, listen to Wordopia, click on the coachtrap.co.uk, and I'll speak to you soon.